Perfect. Can you let me know when you see three fingers? Okay, so that wasn't too much of a delay. I didn't do this last time, but I'm just gonna quickly show off some of the resins, as most people in the group have only just seen the 3D renders. For example, here's a brute. The lighting's not the best, but then KOA, or King of Average, painted this. And so some of the viewers have kids in the background, so we'll be careful to watch our language as we get smacked by enemies. All right, none of those you'll see today on the game. Alright, so I'm just going to review those rules or those mistakes that we made during the last game and just kind of show examples quickly. So last time when we did the stream, I was only inflicting damage on our characters from enemies based on their rolls, when all enemies actually have base damage for their attacks listed here. So if they rolled and had like 5 damage per their dice, it would have been 5 plus 3, and then less whatever armor or defense we have. So that was a mistake on my end, which is just this top example here. So they have a base damage on their character boards that must be added to their dice roll. So that's just an example of that. Frenzy is an effect that's on Alexandra's chakram that allows you to attack more than once per activation if you actually have the action points remaining to trigger another attack. And so I wasn't doing that in the last playthrough. And so she starts with 6 action points due to her equipment. Like her base is 5, but she gets an extra one due to some of her equipped equipment. So she could potentially attack twice with her weapon, which, if she's had a few kills under her belt, her base damage goes up sort of exponentially almost. So a couple attacks with her chakram can do quite a bit of damage towards the end of a scenario. And then when we're rolling the dice, if you look at, let me find an example here. If you look at somebody's card, so here's Wynter's Scimitar. It has 3 green dice there, and an attack that would be physical damage. If it was blue dice, it would be magical damage. If it's red dice are just more powerful forms of whatever type of damage precedes it. So sometimes you'll see 3 green and then 2 red cubes on the same card, and that would mean that the red are actually physical. They match the green dice, but they're just more powerful forms of it. If you have like Kapok's weapon, 2 red dice, and that's it, you get to choose whether you want to deal physical damage or magical damage. And that's important. That's important because enemies have just base defense or base magical armor. They don't have armor that chips away like our heroes. So they have, some of them might have base defense, which would prevent against physical damage, and then 0 magical armor. So if you're Kapok, who doesn't deal a lot of damage, you may want to then switch to magical damage and bypass, where that enemy has no magical defense, and then just deal damage that way. So physical defense, magical defense on enemy stat cards. And then enemy movement at the beginning of their activation. In the last scenario that we did, there was an instance where Kapuk, as he's pronounced, Kapuk, was sort of surrounded by Inquisitors, and I didn't move one at the beginning of the enemy turn because he was already adjacent to his target, which was a mistake. I should have moved the Inquisitor because he could have gained flanking on Kapuk and then dealt more damage. So they will always move to a more advantageous position if they can, if it means they're going to deal more damage. And then prepared enemies. So if you activate at the beginning of your turn and move adjacent to a prepared enemy or within their line of sight and they're capable of dealing range damage, they will attack you. Okay? If you're already adjacent to them, your activation will trigger them. So if you're within one distance of a melee damage dealing enemy and they're prepared and you activate next to them or walk within range of them, they're going to attack you. If it's one of the crossbow enemies that we saw in the last scenario and you walk into their line of sight or activate within their line of sight, they will attack you right away. Flanking. In the last scenario, we were doing flanking, including ranged characters, as long as they were directly opposite from another hero who was adjacent to the enemy. That's not the case. So, the definition to flank a target, a hero must be adjacent to their target. To flank a target, that's all good. To flank a target, a hero must be adjacent to their target and on the opposite side of an ally who is also adjacent to the same target. So the prerequisites are that you have to be adjacent and opposite from another hero and within one range of your adversary. So we did that wrong last time. And then blinded enemies will only be cured at the end of their next activation. So if you attack them, it doesn't matter, they're still blind until they activate and end their turn. And then with respect to zones, um, previously I said a whole map tile is a zone. That's incorrect. If it's dotted like this is actually two zones. And this break here also represents two different zones. So when I was using Alexandra in the last stream and she was doing a leap from here to there to get next to another enemy, I said it was within the same zone, which is incorrect. She only could have leapt somewhere within one of these squares. That's it. So that's just another correction. And then utility and ultimate abilities, these are your most powerful maneuvers. They take up time or power to build, to use them. And so they don't necessarily count as your attack for that turn, and you can still do an attack. But in some instances, using the utility or ultimate does require the prerequisite of making an attack. And that is like an example was Alexandra's leap attack. So she would need to have action points available to make an attack after she leapt to her target. So that's a prerequisite. But in some cases, it doesn't actually necessarily mean that your utility or ultimate requires action points. So that's just something that we need to pay attention to. And then with respect to Kapuk, he had the ability card Defender. And in our last stream, he was in a 3-square line that was being swiped by an enemy that was targeting Adina, who was adjacent to him. And using Defender, he is able to mitigate that damage to Adina. It would just end up being 2 separate attacks that hit him, and nothing would come to her. And that was just something we wanted clarification on. But those are all the mistakes from the last stream. No, we're going to be perfect this time, right? All right. So just to quickly recap, last time we had Kapuk, we had Alexandra, we had Adina, and we had Vanessa, I believe. And we had decided to not go the route of killing Davor. and we proceeded to go to the catacombs where Kapak and Adina are required. When we were there, we met Guard Captain Sever and her entourage, and because Alexandra is not the most diplomatic, she sucked in negotiations and just decided to cut off Sever's head. And that became sort of a surprise attack for us on the enemy, and they were handicapped because of that. And then we continued to fight the rest of her entourage. And so that's where we left off. Is we went to the catacombs, triggered a fight with the guards outside, killed the captain, then her entourage, and now we're going inside. Sorry, I was just saying good morning to my wife. Okay, so let me just flip to where we left off. Okay. So, into the dark. The party entered the catacombs, carefully descending the crumbling stone staircase with only Adina's torch to light their path. The stairs showed signs of repeated footsteps disturbing the cobwebs and dust, but all appeared to be traveling downward. No one who has entered the catacombs of late has yet returned. When the party reached the last step, Kapuk took the lead, peering into the darkness for any sign of movement. "The dead do not rest here," he said, without explanation. He then entered the large room at the base of the stairs, and the party followed. Adina walked along the left wall, shining lights on the reliefs carved into the stone. They were untouched from the days of Tar Pit before the vampires, depicting the royal families of generations past. Good people prayed for their loved ones here. They are all with Yedra now. Adina closed her eyes and thought of the Patra thralls and how they were denied everything, even death. Kapuk and Adina entered the doorway leading further into the catacombs, walking shoulder to shoulder. They and the party walked for several minutes, passing dozens of sealed vaults until their progress was blocked by a collapsed tunnel. A large wooden support beam rested atop a pile of fallen dirt and stone, blocking their path. With enough strength, it may be possible to lift the beam high enough to provide a small opening for the party to crawl through, or even touching the beam might break loose more rock and add new occupants to the old catacombs. Alternatively, there appears to be an antechamber to the left that may lead around the collapsed area. And the summary for that, the word sunder, is the catacombs are full of dead people. There's a collapsed tunnel you might be able to fix with a strength test at your peril, or an antechamber that might lead around. So, do you want to try your luck with the antechamber? In which case we would turn the page and go to a different paragraph. Or do you attempt to move the beam and clear a path through the collapsed tunnel? In which case we would do a strength test for Kapuk, as he is the strongest of us. What do you guys want to do? All right, so if we're doing the strength test for Kapuk, here he needs to have a strength of 22, and his base strength is 11. And then we get to roll two regular d6, and whatever that adds up to, we either pass or we have to just continue reading underneath this if we don't pass. So we need to get 11. See, this is great. That would have been the first mistake. Yes, he does. All right, 14. So we need to roll 8 or better. And we fail. In which case, we continue. So, the beam starts to shake in your hands, and the ceiling gives way to a downpour of stone and dirt. Each party member must roll an agility test against an agility test or be assigned 4 damage. And so we all need to get a total of 14. So starting with Kapak, because he was front and center, his agility is 5. So he needs to roll 9 or better. So Kapak doesn't take any damage. Wynter, you have an agility of 11. So 4 or better. No damage. Vanessa has an agility of 8. So 6 or better. No damage. And Adina has an agility of 4. So you need to roll 10. So I rolled 10 to 11 for everyone else, and then Adina, who actually needed it. Oh, sorry. All right, so I'm going to put 4 damage on Adina's character board to keep track of that. And so that's just going to be 4 teardrops that are 1 value. Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. So the party decides it is best to leave the collapsed tunnel and try their luck with the antechamber. I don't think they have much of a choice at this point. So they're going to go to page 21, R5. That sucks. You're squishy. You're our glass cannon. Who's going to heal the healer? All right. All right. Are you back on board? Okay. So we are entering the knight's tomb. The antechamber turned out to be merely an entryway, opening into a massive rectangular room. Shelves are carved into the side of every wall from floor to ceiling, each holding the remains of a knight of Tarpit. You're in the knight's tomb. Got it. Here comes the perception check. And so whoever has the highest perception, we need to get at least 22. And I believe that is Vanessa with 12. So she needs to. Oh, that's true. All right. So starting with Vanessa, because if she gets it, we can stop there. Does she have any additional perception on any of her stuff? I don't think so either, but all right. So 10 or better. Nice. There we go. So she got 10. So we go to page 22. And skip directly to a encounter with some Makati, where if we had have failed that perception check, they would have basically sprung a trap on us and had initiative. So in this case, I think we are probably starting out with a better turn order. All right, just give me a minute and I'll set up the board. Invigorate. Is that something for Adina? Okay. One armor AR. So in the adversary deck, which is what they use to target us, there's two of every one of our heroes except for Odina, who gets four. That's only if a hero finishes their activation next to a fountain. No, here I'll read the rules right now. So there's a couple special effects. If we had have failed the perception check when walking into this room for the first round, all the ambushers would have had 1 plus base damage for the first round. But Vanessa rolled 10 and got a total of 20 and avoided that. So that doesn't apply. The second special effect is at the end of each round, darts shoot from the walls, and each hero must do a test agility 20, or they get assigned 4 damage. That's regardless of Adina or otherwise. That just happens every single round. At the end, we may all get smacked for 4 damage. And then the third special effect is if a hero finishes their movement adjacent to a fountain, they gain 2 power and ignore the darts, but they must do a Spirit 20 test. Failed tests at the fountain heal the adversary with the lowest health for 5. Um, and so that's independent of Adina. Actually, all of this is independent of Adina. If a hero finishes him, they gain 2 power and ignore fail test of the fountain, heal the adversary. Okay. Oh, so well, the special effects. Each hero must test agility 20 or be assigned 4 damage. Yeah, but everybody else still has the chance to. Yeah, yeah. Okay. And then this one, and then the special effects number 3. If a hero finishes their movement adjacent to a fountain, they gain 2 power and ignore the darts. I mean, that's pretty good for all of us. The only downside there is that when we're getting close to killing enemies, if we fail that spirit test, the enemy with the lowest health will heal for 5, which, yeah, it kind of sucks. But like, we also have Adina who can one shot Makati because they're undead, or she has her ultimate where if we pool them all together, she can take out like 5 adjacent enemies. So you got it. So you should probably save that for a warrior or the Rossworn. Yeah. All right. Well, there's 5 enemies up top, and there's 3 down low. And Adina and Vanessa, I being ranged and squishy, I put closest to this side, which gets Adina in a good spot to get to a fountain with minimal risk. Um, and then I put Kapak and Wynter up top because they're melee and he can tank and try to just hold down all of them. Um, that was just my thought. Um, but in terms of turn order, I have no inclination as to what would be best. We have to eliminate everyone, and this is the turn order. So there's 2 ambushers, one of us, 3 ambushers, one of us, raw sworn, one of us, warriors, then one of us. One warrior right here, and 2 ambushers. Yeah. I'm thinking have Winter and Vanessa probably go first, and then Adina and just Kapuk go last. Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and so I think with where we have to slay all enemies and there's no other objectives other than just survive the AoE that happens at the end of every round. We just come down here, we clean these up, and then we advance that way afterwards. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. In which case, Kapuk could really just go first and try to tie some of them up. All right. Okay, you won't see the whole turn order here, but I'm just putting Adina third in case you want to use your um, mace and just take out one of these targets down here. Because you may be able to. What's your movement? 4. 1, 2, 3. You wouldn't be close enough to be able to take out the guardsman, anyways. Yeah, I wouldn't use it on an ambusher. I don't think. Yeah, I'm just gonna put Adina last. I think that makes the most sense. Oh, that's actually great, and that puts you out of any risk, and he won't even activate if you took care of him in the first round because you would be going before him. That's great. All right, so I think we have our initial strategy. Um, so that's it. We're set up. Now I'm just gonna. This is the only piece that I feel like there. I wish there was something a little bit more eloquent for keeping track of the enemies on the board. Who's who? This is warrior number 2, 4, and 5. This is ambusher 4, ambusher 5, 2 and 3, 2, 3, 1, and 1 for the warrior. And I won't bother putting one on the Rossworn because he's the only one here. So everyone has one. Okay. And then I'll just leave out some of these prepared tokens for use when needed. All right. Okay, so starting with the turn order, the first Makati ambusher goes first. So you would flip their activation deck. And the first thing that we pulled is a basic card, Men 2. So they target the nearest enemy, which in this case is Vanessa, and then they heal themselves for 2. So, targeting Vanessa, who's here, the ambusher will try to complete what's first on their card, Swift Stab. So it's a range of 1, as is Shade Step. So either way, they need to get within 1 space of her. and they have a movement of 5. So number 1 can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and be there. 5 to be beside her. And because there's 1 and 2 in turn order, I think 1 would preferentially go beside her such that 2 could get in front of her. Would you agree? Actually, yes, they would be able to flank if 1 goes in front. Yeah. Okay. And then swift stab then is what he will try to do first. So if the target is within 5 range, advance and attack. And if they roll 2 stars, apply fatigue, which I've actually never seen that yet. So we'd have to look that up. Sorry, holding it out of the camera. And then shade step, advance and roll dice on star, place adjacent to the target and assign damage. Okay. So that only occurs if the target isn't within 5 range, but Vanessa is. So swift stab it is. So ambusher number 1 moves 4 spaces to sit in front, has a base damage of 2, and then rolls 4 green die. Oops, move these over here. And then I know a lot of people were commenting for the pledge manager, like, are there enough dice? I mean, this is the demo, and I've never needed more than what's here. So if you're comfortable not passing across the table, then you don't need to do an add-on for dice, unless you like to have that luxury. All right, so 4 green die. Oh, I need somewhere to roll. Let's do it here. Okay, so they are going to apply fatigue. 2 swords, so a total damage of 4 towards Vanessa plus fatigue. But she has 1 armor and 2 defense. So the armor's going to chip away, and she'll have 2 defense left, and she won't take. She'll only take. She won't take any damage because the armor's there, right? It's been. It's 2 swords, right? But yeah, so she'll get 1 damage, and armor will chip away. Yeah, but this is always there. She doesn't lose her defense. Okay. So the only other thing is we forgot, or I forgot, to put her eagle on the board. And if I were smart, knowing the turn order, I would do that. Actually, it doesn't really matter because they could move diagonally and still get behind her. I guess it doesn't really matter. If I do that, they can't flank. Oh, that's true. So it doesn't really matter. In which case, I would just put her down here just to be in closer range to where we want to go. Now, maybe she has to be adjacent to her. I don't remember if companions have to start adjacent. Anyways, I'll leave it there. So she's taking 1 damage. And an armor chipped away. So now Makati Ambusher number 2 is going to activate. And target that individual with the highest health, and their attack will have +2 dice. On the last card, it did say heal self for 5. They don't have any damage yet, so we're ignoring that. So this case would be Kapuk with, I believe, 28 health. And Makati Ambusher can only move 5 spaces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will get into range. and swap spaces with the companion. And and these are 3D printed resin, so they're super delicate. And in transport, some of them have had some pieces chipped off that I've put back on. But if I'm not careful, like just now, you can easily chip off a piece, like Adina's flame on her torch. Yeah, so I'll fix that later. Um, so, so Kapak, you're now going to be the target with 6 green dice, the same attack we just saw. Which is going to be 6 plus the base damage of 2, so 8. But you have 3 defense and 3 armor, so you would only get 2 damage, and 1 of your armor will chip away. He did, yeah. I haven't put it on yet. Um, Freck, Freck, are you able to look up fatigue and what the significance is of that? Oh, lovely. Okay. I hadn't seen that before, so I hadn't pulled it out in advance. But so I'll just place fatigue on her character board. Okay. Um, and so Kapuk took 2 damage, is missing 1 armor, and that's the end of them. So now it's Kapuk's turn. So I've already shuffled your decks. I'll give it one more quick shuffle and then draw you 5 cards, okay? Wait, it's me. All right. So I drew Dash, which gives me 2 extra speed. Outcast is my negative trait card, so other heroes may not use cards during my turn right now. None of you have any cards in your hand, anyways, as of yet. So that just automatically gets discarded, and now I'm only having 4 for this turn. Punch. This attack is free if activated immediately after attacking an adjacent target, and just allows me to throw 1 green die, which is physical damage. And I think all of our enemies have um, enough armor that the likelihood of this causing any damage is slim to none. So it's a good card to throw away because I can get 2 power for it. Jawbreaker requires melee. I have a melee weapon. It applies stun to the target. And throw rock. Apply stun to a soldier or creature within 3 range. So looks like I can do a little bit of crowd control and get some power this turn, which would be nice for Adina, who's squishy and needs to get beside this fountain. So let's see. I'll use dash to get 2 extra speed for movement. So I now have 5 for this turn. I'm going to discard punch just right now to have 2 power and not forget about it. And I'll put that on shield bash, which only requires 3 power to use while Adina is on the table because she lessens the power requirement to use your ultimate or utility for all other heroes on the table. So now I just need 1 more power in order to use shield slam or shield bash. And then I have Jawbreaker, requires melee, apply stun, and throw rock, which require a total of 3 action points to use both, and I have 5 action points. So rather than causing damage this turn, I think what I'll do is put myself between all those enemies down below and stun the 2 ambushers. So 1, 2, 3. And I guess I don't need to use my. I didn't need to use dash to really do that. But we'll use it anyways because after I do this, I'll still have 2 movement remaining from dash, which will allow me to get adjacent to the fountain. Hmm. But none of them have any damage yet right now, which um, and they're both going to be stunned anyways if I stay right there, but then Kapuck will take damage. But one of those is throw stone. And I believe I still have line of sight to that guy to throw a stone from here. Correct? Yeah. Um, and so if I move here, I can hit this guy with Jawbreaker, stun him, and then the other one I'll throw the stone and stun him, and I'm still adjacent to the fountain. So I'll do that. So that's my last 2 cards. I hit this guy without rolling anything. He's now stunned, and I'll throw the stone at the other one, and now he's stunned. So I'll put those on their cards so we don't forget. So that's number 4 and 5. It is a tall object. Things like an armor rack are medium, and things like the urns are small. Okay, so that's the end of Kapuck, which means Ambusher number 3 is going to go. So he will target Wynter, who is front and center. So he's just going to move up and roll 4 green die for his attack. And have 5 damage heading Wynter's way. And only 3 of that is going to get through because she has 1 defense and 1 armor. But her 1 armor is going to chip away. And she'll take 3 damage. But now you are stealthed, so no one else can target you unless you attack or use one of your abilities. And I don't know if I actually have a stealth token in the demo, but I think you'll remember, right? All right, perfect. And so that is the end of his turn. 4 and 5 are stunned, and so that now ends their turns. And I'll just remove the stun tokens. But now we're on Vanessa. Not too bad. All right, Vanessa is also me. Just give it one more quick shuffle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards. Okay. Support fire requires ranged, which she has. Discard 1 card in the hand to enhance the attack of a nearby ally. That's helpful. Dive. When the Greater Hawk attacks, apply blind to its target. Also helpful. Punch. Same thing as Kapuk, kind of useless. Good for action points. Dash. Gain 2 speed this activation. For her, she already has a movement of 7 based on her abilities and her base of 5. 9 is kind of insane. It's not too helpful. And then throw rock. You can stun somebody again. So we're more prioritizing our placement right now and getting down south. Those 2 guys are stunned, and the other guy, hopefully Adina, will smack. So I'm not too worried about using support fire right now. I can blind somebody so they can't attack us, and I can throw a rock to stun somebody. So before I move too far down, if I hit the... I only have 3 action points. But this costs 3. So we could do this. The question is, how far does a Makati warrior? Well, so he's down here. He only moves 3. He's not going to do anything this turn. And the Raw Swarm only has a movement of 3. And he goes before the warrior. So he would activate the closest person based on his card. So he would go, and then he would go again, which would put him into range. So I think I will throw a stone at this guy and use dive, hopefully, on the Raw Swarm to blind him. That'll be my turn, I think. So let's see. Throw rock, I would have to get around the person in front of me. And then dive. Okay, so I'm going to use my 2 free movement points for this turn to go here and then behind the ambusher. And then I'm going to spend my base 5 speed to activate the Greater Hawk. Oh, that's right. That's just his movement, right? Yeah, okay. So the Greater Hawk just has 5 movement. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll spend 1 action of my 3 to do dive. So the Greater Hawk attacks apply blind to its target. So I'm going to attack the Raw Swarm with the Hawk. Which is 3 green die and 1 red. Which is going to cause 3 damage because the Hawk doesn't have any base damage. And the Raw Swarm has 4 armor. Hold on. 2 physical armor and 2 magical armor. So only 1 damage is going to get through. Because this is dealing physical damage with the green die. But now there's blind on the Raw Swarm. And Freck, can you read what blind does again? Allies or Okay. Not can't target allies or enemies. So that is helpful. In which case, yeah. And so the reason why I had moved Vanessa was to be able to throw a rock at the swordsman, or the warrior rather, to stun him. And the reason why I was going to do that is because the Rawsworn, if he doesn't have an enemy adjacent to him, doesn't do a defensive slash. So he would then do command. If an ally is within 3 range, which the warrior is, halt. And then the closest ally, meaning the warrior, would make a free activation. So the warrior would have had this free activation, then his turn, which would have gotten him within range of one of us. But if the Rawsworn is now blind and can't target an ally to command him, then he wouldn't get within range of any of us anyways. So I might be better suited to actually not move and stun somebody else. Yeah. I think based on what you just said and reflecting on how direct they usually are in the writing, that if this actually was targeting something, you're right. It would say like, targeted ally or whatever. In this case, I think I agree with you after you voicing that. In which case, I'm just going to go ahead with my plan and just stun the warrior. Um, but in order to do so, I need to move a little bit closer because this only has 3 range and he's 4. And so I've moved 2 towards him originally with my free activation, or my free 2 movement, but I still have 5 left. Um, and I haven't taken my actual turn yet for this person. So I'll just do one more closer and throw a rock. And that exhausts all of my action points for this turn. So Warrior 1 will be stunned. Okay. And then I'm just going to throw away Punch to get 2 power for uh, a woman possessed. Okay. And that's the end of Vanessa's turn, which then means the Rawsworn gets to go, but he's blind and won't be able to target anybody. But he will command. And in this case, he'll command the Makati warrior to activate. But he's stunned. So we'll just draw an activation card and then he doesn't do anything. Well, here's the thing. Command. If an ally is within 3 range, halt. Closest ally immediately makes a free activation. If he's stunned, does he activate? Okay. Then there's nobody else within his range to activate, which would mean then he would drop down to strategic maneuvers and advance to the closest ally, which in this case is the Makati warrior. So he'll just move over till he's adjacent to the warrior because he has a movement of 3. So he's just going to move over there. that make sense? It says the target skips their next activation, but he should have just been activated, in which case it should then be removed. Yeah. Okay. So we um, prevented him from moving too much closer to us. All right. With one extra base damage. You're right. Okay, so now that is the end of the Rossworn's turn. It's now Adina's turn. And we would or would not have flipped this. Did we have an agreement on that? Because he didn't activate, right? Okay, so we would not have. Sorry for ruining the suspense. Adina's the next target. You got it. Cards incoming. Sympathetic. Heal an ally for 4. My camera's struggling to. There we go. I can switch. Okay. Punch. Burst healing. So that's basically heal all allies for 4. Self preservation. And rebirth. Seems like a good card to discard for power. Yeah. Jeez. Sounds good. So you have 5 action points. Your Fist of the Heavens requires 3. and you actually, sorry, to do that discard, it requires 5. So you're gonna run into a problem here because to use teleport to get beside the warrior, that costs 1 action point to use an item. So, okay. Yep. Okay. Okay. Yep. Okay. You got it. Perfect. It is now exhausted. So I've turned it sideways beside your character, but you can still use it as a regular weapon. Um, and the warrior number 2 has been wiped from the board. But Wynter will get us so much loot, it's all good. All right, so that's the end of Adina's turn. She's going to get 3 cards on her next turn because she used all of hers, and you don't get to refill 5 at a time. She still has 4 damage, so she has a total of 10 health left, and she exhausted her 1 hit on her mace. But she is well on her way to building up Smite. She's 6 out of 12. The cost is normally 13, but she lowers the cost by 1 for everybody. That's one of her buffs. Okay, so the next person on the order list after Adina is Makati Warrior 1, who is no longer stunned. When you empty your hand, I don't think you draw a full hand again. I mean, all right, I'm cool with that. That makes sense. I wasn't thinking of your buff tranquility at all. All right, so you now have, hold on, balance. Heal a nearby target for this hero's current health. Holy Blast 2. After the attack, this hero may discard 2 to attack the same target with Holy Blast again. Okay. Holy Arrows. Discard 1 to attack all nearby raised enemies. So they are all raised, and I'll show that here in a second. Um, Minor Shielding is your next card. Apply 1 barrier to self or an ally. I think you. And lastly, your negative trait, Self Doubt. This hero may not use stat bonuses for this activation. Which normally when you draw this card, you just discard it right away and put it into effect. But I guess this would apply to your next activation. Okay. So I'll leave it in your hand for now. So all of the um, enemy cards um, show that they are Makata. That's like their faction, and that they are raised. Yeah. Perfect. So that is now the end of the round. So now we're going to trigger that special effect. So um, at the end of each round, darts shoot from the walls. Each hero must test agility 20 or be assigned 4 damage. But if a hero finishes their movement next to a fountain, they gain 2 power and ignore the darts. So, wait. Oh, sorry. If you, here, let me move the camera just for a sec so you can see this. Wynter's way over here, so I completely forgot that she was actually even in the turn order. Hold on, my bad. All right, sorry. Yeah, Wynter. Number one. Oh yeah, you're right. What was I doing? I just assumed we killed the Makati warrior and that was it. But it's the other one. Okay, yeah. Sorry, Makati warrior. Yeah, so he's going to activate now and target Adina, who he won't be able to reach. He has a movement of 3, so he is just going to move 3 towards Adina. 1, 2, 3. All right, and that's the end of his activation. And now we'll go to Wynter. All right, so far, no huge mistakes in this stream. They've all been caught in real time. All right, take a breather. Discard 2 to refill this hero's hand. Just let me know when to switch. Okay. Dodge. Discard 2 to ignore the attack. Ambush. Attack has +2 base damage if the target is flanked. Opportunistic Strike. If an adjacent enemy is attacked, attack the enemy with this ability. And Dirty Fighting 2. Attack has +2 base damage and apply Immobilize to target if it is flanked. All right. Hmm. Well, the idea is we probably want to stay pretty hunkered down around a fountain, so that we can rotate being adjacent to it, if we need to avoid those darts. Vanessa has up to 9 movement, and so I'm able to probably get all the way back on her next activation. Um, so I think in terms of mitigating damage, it would be best if Wynter came south towards the camera, and we just took care of what's down here and let them come to us. Yep. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we are against the undead, so it's kind of fitting. Okay. Okay. Um, so I'm going to do that for you, but just for a second, your shiny attribute gain 1 power at the beginning of each activation. Do you want that to go in backstab or swift tactics? Okay, so that's there. And then Freck said that he wanted to do dirty fighting. So this is +2 base damage and apply immobilize if the target is flanked, which the ambusher is. So we're going to get immobilize out, and you're going to be rolling 3 green die plus your base damage of 2 plus this additional base damage. So it'll be 4 plus whatever you roll on your 3 green die. Yeah, so you have 4. Oh, that's right. You're right. You're also flanking. So you'll be doing 6 base damage plus whatever we roll. Okay. Uh, and immobilize is just as the name implies. The ambusher can still attack adjacent targets. He just can't move. Okay. All right. So here's your roll plus your 6 base damage. And it looks like another 2. So that's 8. And you're targeting ambusher number 4. And ambushers have only 1 physical defense, so you caused 7 damage to their 7 health. So ambusher number 4 is at half health. Gloves of the Thief. Roll 2 when attacking, and on each 6, gain 1 gold. Okay. 2d6. It's alright. And you are no longer stealthed. Um, the other thing is how much how much did your attack cost? Just 3, right? And your card Dirty Fighting cost 2. Okay. And do you have any way to get more action points right now? No. Okay. But you're in a good spot to use ambush on your next turn. Okay, got it. So you are discarding, take a breather, and you're putting 2 more power on the same one. Swift packet. All right. So you only need 2 more to be able to use that. Okay. Now it is the end of the round. So, starting with those heroes who are next to a fountain, they gain 2 power and ignore the darts. So let's just do the power. So that'll be to Adina, which I'm going to put on Smite, and you ignore the darts. And that's also going to be Kapak, who now can use Shield Bash, and I'll put the extra one on Slam. And both of them ignore the darts, but they have to roll Spirit 20. Failed tests will heal the adversary with the lowest health for 5. So, Adina has a Spirit of 14. You need to roll 6. Ooh, that sucks. All right. So the nearest enemy heals for 5. So I'm taking 5 damage off of the warrior. And I'm not too optimistic about Kapuck. Wait, he can't even do it, so there's that. And all the damage is removed from the ambusher. So I think we may need to decide when and where to actually stay next to that, and when we can accept taking some damage from the darts, because that's awful. Yeah. And then yeah, so he might as well, and he has so much health, he may as well not be next to a fountain. Yeah. All right. So that was a mistake on my part then. Um, and so now the other 2 heroes are not next to a fountain, so they have to roll agility 20 to avoid 4 damage. So Wynter has an agility of 11, so needs 9 or better. 6, sorry. So you now have 7 damage on Wynter. And who else? Vanessa has an agility of 8, so can't do it. Oh, 12, I guess. Yeah, 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 yeah. Now, dang. All right, so now we're starting over again with Makati Ambushers 1 and 2, which, for reference, are these 2 here. Yeah, sorry about the. Is the glare from the door helping or hindering, do you think? The light on the table, do you think that's helping or hindering right now? Okay. I don't think there's much I can do about it right now, anyways, without really moving the table. So, all right. So Makati Ambusher 1 is here, and for reference, he's 4 blocks away from our tile where the rest of us are. And he's going to target Vanessa, who is behind him. The order's the same unless we want to change where we go. So I would love to get Vanessa away from all of those people. So getting her first would be ideal. And then as far as Wynter and Adina and Kapuk go, they're already down there. So I don't really have a preference there, I don't think. All right. So we'll put Adina last. And I think we'll just leave Kapuk where he is. I haven't played him myself. I just need to read Shield Bash again because that is ready to go. What does that do? Require shield. Assign 5 damage to adjacent attackers. I can't remember if Shield Bash is used when an attacker is hitting us or. Okay. Yeah, so if he. It's only when he gets attacked, he can then divert it to an adjacent attacker. Okay. Okay. All right, so now the turn order's settled. Makati Ambusher 1 is just going to turn around and move to the opposite side of Vanessa to get flanking. So that's 2 spaces. And so he's still going to roll his standard 4 green die. Um, Plus his 2 base damage, plus 2 for flanking. So he's going to have 4 plus whatever he rolls. Which is another 4. So that's 8. Minus 2. Yeah, minus 2 for her armor. So we are now at 11 damage on Vanessa, and she only has 18 health. Adina, I think you need to start healing some people. All right. That is. Yeah. All right. Uh, so Makati number 2 will now go and target Adina. And they have a range of 5. So the closest he can get is 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there, in between the other 2 in front of the pillar. And then he does nothing. Gets prepared, yes. Which means as soon as because he is only melee. So as soon as Kapuk activates, he will be attacked by that ambusher, unless one of us attacks him first. So I'm next with Vanessa. I can get back and attack him. Okay, so let's do that. Vanessa's turn is now. What cards do I? What was that? Yeah. She only has a range of 5, and she can't be targeted, so that's fine. Okay. All right. So Vanessa draws 3 new cards. And I already had support fire to enhance an ally's attack and dash 2 extra speed, which I'm going to be using this round to get back to you guys. But I just drew heavy shot, which requires ranged, damage the target and the enemy behind the target. Determined, discard 1 to gain 3 action points. Or premeditation, gain 2 power, or an ally gains 1 power. All right. So I have 7 movement to use right now. One, two, three. On the guards, on the warrior, could do that. That's the warrior. The alternative is moving, letting the eagle just do base damage on him, moving enough to be adjacent to Kapuk and Wynter down here, and not have flanking, but using the heavy shot to hit both of these ambushers. Oh, that means. Oh, you're talking about using the bird, getting um, on the bird's attack. Got you. Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, we'll do the bird first. He has a range of 5. He moves 1 to be closer to flank, and then rolls 3 green and 1 red. So the red will have physical damage in this instance, and that's 2 plus a star. And I don't think the star does anything. And the Makati warrior has 2 defense, so all we really do is the 2 damage for flanking. So 2 damage on Makati warrior 1. And if he hadn't have been flanking, that wouldn't have caused anything. Nice eye. Good catch. All right. So now I want to move Vanessa 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 spaces. To do that, I'm going to use her 2 free activation, her base 5 movement for 7, and dash for an extra 2. So I'm going to discard dash, and she is now going to be. Yeah, the movement's more important to me right now than. Yeah, so I'll just. Yeah, I'll remove the damage off the bird. We'll say he tried to attack him, but wasn't successful in causing any damage. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, and so now I'm going to. I have 5 action points this turn instead of 3, and I am going to use 4 of them to use my Giant's Bane crossbow and heavy shot, which allows me to damage the target and an enemy behind the target. So I'll discard that, and I will be rolling 4 green die plus my base damage of 3. So that is 7. And the ambushers only have 1 physical defense, so we've done 6 damage to number 4 and number 2. And number 2 is no longer prepared because he got hit by that. So 6 damage on number 2, and number 4 also has 6 damage. And then I'm going to... Oh, I don't have anything to discard. That's action points. And gain 2 power, or an ally gains 1 power. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Woman possessed. I'm going to use premeditation to give Adina 1 power on smite. Because I feel like we're going to need it. Everyone's low health, and we need to remove some enemies from the board. Okay. That is the end of Adina's turn. Sorry, Vanessa's turn. And so now Makati Ambusher number 3 is going to go, who's down here. And he pulled Harass, which targets the nearest enemy, which in this case is Wynter. So that's Wynter, and all nearby enemies are assigned 2 damage. Nearby meaning on the same zone, so everyone would get 2 damage. No. But that's only if the ambusher can get within range, and they have 5 movement, and he most certainly can get within range. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and he was next to the pillar. Yes. All nearby enemies are assigned 2 damage. So assigned damage bypasses all of our armor. So all of us are just getting 2 damage. I'm going to put that down right now. Would you interpret that as Wynter also getting 2 damage from that? Because she's the target, but is she considered the nearby as well? Because the card says nearest enemy is the target, but then all nearby enemies are assigned 2 damage. I don't think that applies to her. Yeah, okay. So she'll be the target of the attack, which is just going to be 4 green die. Which is going to be base damage of 2 plus 3 is 5. Wynter has 1 armor, so that's going to be 4 damage to Wynter. Or 1 defense there. Yeah, you have a total of 16, and if you're getting 4 damage right now, then you are at 11. Yeah. Okay. Not looking good. And everyone else already got their damage. So that is the end of Makati Ambusher 3. You can what? Sorry, the camera or the audio keeps breaking up. That's right. You're good. But the rest of us aren't. All right. And Ambusher number 4 is now going to activate, which is the one that's in the middle of all of us. And target Wynter. But he can't because you are stealthed. That's awesome. But he will become prepared, which means as soon as Kapuk activates, he will attack Kapuk. Ambusher number 5 will now activate and target Adina. So he's going to turn around and just walk 2 spaces to be able to attack Dina and roll his 4 green die. Oh, does somebody have to leave? Oh, 3, 5, 7. Yeah, so you have one. You have 1 armor. Adina has 1 armor. And I don't think Adina has had a physical attack against her land yet, right? Yeah, because you have 14 right now, less 6, so 8. They rolled 7. Um, and so it'll be 6 coming your way, and that chips away. It's now gone. Yeah, okay. So you received 6 and 6. You're at 12, and you have 2 health left. Oh my god. Because we started a new round, yes. Yep, thank you. Mhm. He was. So now Kapuk activates, but Ambusher number 4 is prepared right next to him. So he's going to attack Kapuk and have 6 damage heading Kapuk's way. Less your 5 armor and defense. So only 1 damage goes to Kapuk. So he's now at 23 health and has 1 less armor. And this guy's no longer prepared. And so now it is Kapuk's actual turn. And so he's going to draw 3 cards. Um, so he can use Taunt, place this card on a nearby ally. The next enemy to target this ally targets this hero instead. Rebuff. This hero is immune to 2 status effects from an incoming attack. And take a breather. Discard 2 to refill this hero's hand. Oh, that would be so useful right now, but I really want to use Taunt and not throw it away. So I think what I'm going to do with Kapuk is rather than try to deal damage, I'm going to put Taunt on Adina because she is nearby. So the next time Adina's targeted, it's going to target Kapuk instead. This doesn't cost anything to use. This hero is immune to 2 status effects from. I'll just hold on to it. Take a breather. I can't discard 2 right now, so I can't use it anyway. So I'm just going to put that down. So I can either attack somebody or challenge somebody. Okay, red dice. And if I don't, If I don't. Oh, hold on. That last attack, the prepared Makati ambusher, I could have used shield bash to assign 5 damage to an adjacent attacker. The question is, do I want to do that? Where, um, I mean, number 2 here does have 6 damage, so that would put him at 11, and they only have 14 health. I think that makes sense. And then before the end of this round, if Wynter or Adina can attack number 2, he'll probably die. Yeah, otherwise I'm putting them at risk of healing for 5. So I do have to move this turn. But I can do that. I can do that after attacking. So, okay. So you're thinking of moving closer to us, hopefully throwing away enough cards to get chain healing and then healing us. Okay. So what I'm going to do then is discard the 3 power on Shield Bash and direct 5 damage to number 2. So he is now going to have 11 damage and only 3 health left. And then the other thing I'm going to do is challenge is 3 action points, and attacking is um, 3 action points. I don't have anything that will give me more action points. Does anybody have a card in their hand that will give action points to an ally? Okay. I am going to discard one of my cards from Vanessa to allow me to use support fire, which enhances an ally's attack who's nearby with 2 green dice. So I'm going to attack with Kapuk, Makati Warrior, Ambusher number 4, with my 2 red dice. And because his card starts with 2 red dice only, I get to choose the type of damage I'm doing, which will be, in this case, actually it doesn't matter because they have 1 magical and 1 physical defense, so it doesn't matter which one I do. I guess I'll just do physical because I'm adding green dice to it anyways. So I won't even need to use knockback. Um, I'll show you that in a moment. So Wynter is going to be using opportunistic strike. Maybe. We'll see how much damage I do here. Okay, and I have a base damage of 3 with Kapuk, plus 2 for being flanked on this guy with Wynter. So that's 5, plus my roll of 2, and then the bonus dice that Vanessa gave from one of her cards. He has 6 health, so he has 8 left. Or he has 6 damage, so he has 8 left. And so that was 5 damage that we're starting with, base damage, plus another 5. So that'll be 10. And he has 1 physical defense, so that'll be 9. So he's dead. Without using your card. Perfect. Okay. So this guy is now number 4 removed. Let me just take him out of the turn order. Okay. And Kapuk hasn't moved yet. We do get loot and gold. So in terms of movement here, to stay linked and to prevent enemies from getting past, I think what I'll do is just move 1 space up. Does that make sense? Um, I'm just trying to think because Kapuk finishes, Rossworn goes next, which isn't really going to do a whole lot, I don't think. Then Wynter. So it just depends who Wynter wants to target. 2 only needs 3 more damage to die, which is helpful. 5 has, right here, has no damage yet, so he's not going to gain any benefit from the fountain healing him. 3 also has no damage yet. So I think your priority is just to kill number 2. So you want to go left of the ambusher. Uh, yeah, so Adina wants to go here. The question is there a way to remain all linked and cause flanking still? That's the question. Because if Kapuk were to go here and Wynter were to go here, we wouldn't still be adjacent. But Kapuk doesn't really need the healing, right? So I think that just to ensure that guy dies, I'm going to move Kapuk his full movement to over here to allow Wynter to be able to flank, kill this guy. Adina can move up and heal the 3 of you. Yeah? Okay. So that's the end of Kapuk's turn. And it'll now be the Rossworn, who targets the individual with the highest health, and the attack has +1 dice. So looking at the Rossworn, He would try to do a defensive slash first, but there's no one in his range. So then he's going to command an ally within 3 range, which there is. And the closest ally immediately makes a free activation plus 1 base damage. And that ally may not activate other allies. Okay, so that means that Makati Warrior 1 right now is going to get a free activation. And he will target the nearest enemy and then heal himself for 8. And he doesn't have any damage right now, so that's not a big deal. So the nearest enemy will be Wynter, and he is going to move. He's going to move 3 towards Wynter. 1, 2, 3, and that'll be the end of his turn. Which also means the end of the Rothswarn's turn. So now it's Wynter's turn. Yes. You only get 2, and you pulled dash, 2 extra speed, and throw rock, stun. Okay. He's got 3 health, and you are doing a base damage of 2 plus 2 for your uh, flanking. That's 4. He's dead, so you don't need to use anything extra. Okay, and he dies. Now, so yours says gain 1 power at the beginning of each activation. So I'm going to give you that because you just activated. And then it also says whenever the party gains gold, discard 1 to gain 3 power. Um, but when you slay an enemy, I don't think you automatically get gold unless it's in the loot. No, I forgot to do that, so I'm going to do that right now. And so it's, yeah, so let me just draw that now. Because, like, a health potion might be useful. Okay, I'm just shuffling this deck here quickly. All right, so drawing when Kapuk killed that one guy, he drew greater power. The power flows through you and onto one of your signature skills. Gain 3 power. So Kapuk gets 3 power, which he'll put on Shield Bash to be able to use it right away again. And Wynter just killed somebody. So Wynter drew gold coins. 1 coin, in fact, which you're going to discard for 3 power. And that's because Yep. Yep. So when you activate it at this turn, I already put one on there. So you actually have four on there right now without this three. So I can put one more on there for the five, but then you still have two extra, which you can save for swift tactics again, or put on backstab. Okay. Ambusher number three. Okay. So you are going to discard throw rock. And you still have your other four cards, and stun is going to be placed on ambusher number three. Okay. And that is the end of Wynter's turn. And now Okay. And Makati Warrior number one is now going to activate and target Kapuk. And he won't be able to get there, but he'll move three up towards Kapuk. 1, 2, 3. And then end his turn. And now it is Adina's turn. Before we go anywhere, you have a full hand right now, so you won't draw any cards. And one of them is self doubt. So you can't use any stat bonuses for this activation. I think it would mean that your smite would cost you 13 and your chain healing would cost you 6. Because those are stat bonuses, are they not? Because her Adina has an aura that affects the entire map. She gets +3 vitality when checking. Okay, hold on. Which one was it? Signature skills cost 1 less power on her collar, and so I think that's a. Oh yes, yeah. That's not really a stat. I agree. Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah. So it looks like you have four cards that have lots of potential power if you want to charge something up, or both. You could probably end up charging up both. Yep. Okay, so Adina is now at 7 damage, and Vanessa is now at 8 damage, and Wynter is now at 6 damage. Sorry, say again? Yeah, she has 10 health left. 10, also 10 health left. Um, it's actually at 11. Um, you you could consider putting this on yourself. You are. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, the I gotta look at it again. Freck, the fountains are mid-level height, correct? So I think you could still reach range 2, Makati Warrior 5, but I think it has like -1 base damage or something like that. +1 defense. Okay. Which is physical defense, and your weapon does magical, so it doesn't apply. So you could hit number 5. Yep. Base damage of 4 plus your 3 blue. Yep. All right. I'm gonna roll a blue die. So that's a total of 7 -1 magical defense. So you cause damage to number 5. Okay. That is the end of Adina's turn, which is the end of the turn order in the round. So we now go back. It's for me. Oh, I'm not sure why that is. I don't have YouTube open at all. It's just the phone. That's it. One moment. Let me. Really quickly, Adina just killed somebody without using the special part of her mace, so she gets to draw a piece of loot. And it is. And so we'll throw it away and give power to Wynter. Oh, no, you didn't. Sorry. I forgot about that. um, well, at least we know there's gold coming. All right, so going to the special effects, we'll do those that are not next to a fountain, in which case is all of us except for Adina. So, agility 20 is what we need to roll. So for Wynter, she needs to roll 9. Nope. So 4 damage, you're at 10 health. And Vanessa, Vanessa also takes 4 damage. So is at 12 damage. And Puck just takes 4 damage. Okay. And then Adina gets 2 power. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So Smite is charged, and I'll put 1 on Chain Healing. Does that sound good? And you don't take any damage, but now you have to do a spirit test of 20. And your spirit is 14, so you need to roll 6 or better, and this time I'll use the other hand. And there we go. All right. Yay. So nobody heals. No enemies heal. Okay, so we've survived, but Wynter and Vanessa are in a dire place and could use further healing, especially Wynter, where she doesn't have a shield. So that's probably. Oh, that's true. You do. Okay. All right, so Makati Ambusher number 1 is going to go and target the nearest enemy and ignore 2 defense. So he's going to move 5 towards, in this case, Vanessa. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can't get there, so is now prepared. It is now Vanessa's turn. Oh, hold on. Do we want the same turn order? Okay, I think that's good. That puts you at jeopardy of not being next to the fountain, and you have 7 damage right now, so that would be 4, which would put you at 11. So you just need to not get hit. So You have taunt, and you're going to take two of them off the board, so that's good. Uh, Place with 12 health. Okay. Yep. Yep. Okay. So I think Adina we should put first. Um, and then Vanessa can go and attempt to attack number 5 down here by the fountain. I don't have any cards yet, though, so I don't know if I need to be beside or not. Kapuk needs to just be able to mitigate damage from incoming attacks on everybody else, really. So probably should just stay next to or near number 5 because one just took his turn and isn't going to hurt anybody, and these two are about to die. So it's really just 5. If he were to go second, he could come in and prevent 5 from easily walking around, um, and make flanking probably easier. And then I think Wynter last, so that actually Wynter's been doing a lot of damage and has swift tactics and stuff set up. Why don't we do Vanessa last? Do Kapuk, Wynter, and then Vanessa. All right. So it's Adina's turn now. She's going to draw 3 cards. Yes. I don't hear any feedback. So Adina will be able to throw a rock and stun somebody, worth 2 action points. Empower, an ally gains 1 power. Which is probably useful for Kapuk. And then Blessed Aid. You can heal yourself for 6. Yep. Okay. Okay. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Yep. Boom. Now, smite doesn't say that you wouldn't get loot. So that's fortunate. Are you okay discarding this and giving 1 power to Kapuk? Yeah, you can't give it to yourself, and it's not worth power to yourself. Yeah, so and that will allow you to draw a full hand. Well, Wynter has a full swift tactics and 2 out of 10 on backstab. Um, Kapuk can use shield bash right now, and then this would put him at 1 out of 3 necessary. So he could refill it very quickly. Okay, and so I'm just gonna draw the last 2 cards that you can draw before I reshuffle. So I'll show you those now. So dash. Did you get Yadra's Light? How's that? Perfect. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and you drew Burst Healing and Sympathetic and Punch. But that is the end of your turn, so Adina's done. Makati Ambusher, this is a new round, but he was stunned after his turn of the last round by Wynter. So actually, he's dead. Sorry, we already killed him. Yeah. And so Adina is going to get that gold we were talking about finally, which we will discard because we can't use it anyways, and give it as power 3 to Wynter. It would have been, and actually, in in hindsight, I don't know if Kapuk's really going to need to use Shield Bash again throughout this scenario. So I'm going to take that power he used or he received from you earlier and put all 4 on backstab for Wynter, just in case the next loot is also gold, which we will see right now. Kabega gold. Perfect. Another 3 power. So that is a total of 9 power on backstab out of 10, which is all you need because Adina lowers the requirement by 1. So you have swift tactics and backstab available. And it is now Ambusher number five's turn. Um, uh, Backstab needs to be flanking, I think, right? Yeah. So onslaught. Target the enemy with the lowest health. Enemy and nearest soldier or creature activate. Um, there are no soldiers, I believe. Oh, actually, the warriors and the ambushers are soldiers. So he's going to target the person with the lowest health, which right now Adina has 12, Vanessa has 7, 11, Wynter has 11. So it'll just be the closest person with lowest health, then, I would say, which is Wynter. Um, and in order to get flanking, potentially, I think he would go this way, such that if this guy activates, he could potentially flank. So he targets the lowest enemy, so let's resolve that first. So he's going to attack Wynter for 4 green dice. Okay, so you're going to ignore that. Okay. So Wynter played dodge, discard 2 cards from the hand to ignore the attack, and you're throwing away opportunistic strike and dash, and still have ambush. Okay. So no damage. Don't even need to roll. Perfect. But onslaught um, is one of the advanced enemy activation cards, and it's a particularly shitty one because, not great one, sorry, children. Enemy and nearest soldier or creature activate. So in this case, that would be the other ambusher, who is number 1, will activate. But it also says the nearest enemy activates, which would be either Wynter or Vanessa. So I would say that Wynter gets to activate, and then the other ambusher gets to take a free activation. So, how would you like to take your free turn, Wynter? Okay. And you drew Demonic Blade. The attack assigns damage, so you bypass all defense and armor. Um, and you can any number of cards you discard will be that many green dice you can add to your attack as well. That's pretty sweet. Um, the code: gain 2 action points and move 2 fields. And I think this is your negative trait. Gold Lust. Enemies slain during this hero's current activation award no loot. Yep. Oh, you're so caring. All right, so Wynter is down to only 1 damage. Nice. All right. Yep. He needs 8. Yes. Okay. You don't have to. You just can. Okay. So 3 green die plus your base damage of 2, and you have 5 damage then against an armor of 1. So you're causing 4 damage. He has 4 health left. Okay. So you get to roll 1 red die, and if you roll a skull, you cause 5 damage. But you also still cause your base damage too of 2. Ah, sorry. You cause 1 damage because of your base damage. Okay. Um, Sounds good. And now the nearest enemy is going to activate per that onslaught card. So Makati's ambusher number 1 will get a free activation and target Kapuk, and he will move 3 spots to be. The only way that they could possibly flank him is if they were like this, above and below him. So I'll put him there. Um, I don't think that this free activation takes. I think it just gets rid of the prepared, wouldn't you? Yeah. Okay. So now he's next to Kapuk, and we'll just roll 4 green die, and he has a base damage of 2. So we'll get 3 plus 2 is 5. Kapuk has 3 defense and 1 armor, so we'll get 1 damage, and is at a total of now 18 health. He will he will also get fatigue and get 2 less action points next turn. Um, and that is the end of Ambusher number 5's turn. So now it is Kapuk's turn. He has 10 damage and a total health of 28. Yeah, I think he's good. Okay, so discard 2 to refill his hand. This hero is immune to 2 status effects, so he's going to draw 3 cards for his turn. So Kapuk drew Recover, heal self for 2 and gain 2 armor. Battle Cry, remove all negative effects from allies within one zone. None of us, I guess he could remove fatigue on himself. Which would just be spending 2 to get them back. That doesn't really, yeah. And then Domination. Select a creature within one zone and make a free activation with it. The eagle is too far away. So that looks like a whole bunch of cards to discard to me. That number 5 only has 3 health left. So I think Kapuk can probably take care of him with an attack. And he could discard up to 8 points worth of power, and that would more than supply Slam, which would allow us to um, do a big old cone attack. So let's move Kapak 1 space and have him use Serpent's Tongue Flail to roll 2 red die. What do they have for defense? 1 and 1, so it doesn't really matter. So that's not really great odds. How much movement does he have? He's got 3. 1, 2, 3. But 1 has full health. I'm going to take a chance that, because I mean, the only thing I can do right now for damage is what I'm doing, because Shield Bash, I have to be attacked to be able to use that. I can't do Slam, and um, the only likelihood that I'm going to kill somebody is if I attack 5 right now. Otherwise, the most damage I'm going to do is 3 damage, but I need to roll. Actually, I can't. I can't even kill this guy with my 2 red die. It's impossible. So, in that sense, I won't even bother. You're right. I'm just going to. Oh, you're right. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I will take the chance to kill him then. So I'll move 1 to spend 3 action points to use the flail, 2 red die, and cause no damage. But I do cause knockback of 1. So he just gets knocked back 1. Okay. Um, oh, that's right. Yes, I didn't. No, I have 3. I didn't take that into effect. So that's 4 minus 1 is 3 damage. He's dead. Yeah, yeah. Whoops. I forgot about base damage. Thank you. All right. In which case, we'll draw some loot. Another bag of gold. Seriously. So backstab is full. Swift tactics has 5. I'll just put another 3 there, so it's almost done again. Okay. And before Kapuk finishes his turn, he's going to discard. Let's see. He only needs 6 points to be able to use Slam, so he'll remove Battle Cry, Domination, and take a breather. So that's 6. So Slam is now fully charged. 5. I just need 1 point on there. 6. Okay. Now Slam makes an X-range cone attack using a field adjacent to this hero. On attack, knockback, and +1 dice. So it requires me making an attack, which I can't do because I already used my attack. So if he activates again, he'll have the opportunity to use that. So this is one of those instances where, yes, it only costs power to use Slam, but it's still an attack. So I need to use action points to be able to do it as well. So that's the end of his turn, and now it is Rossworn number 1, who will activate, but there's nobody adjacent to him to do a defensive slash against. So he will command the nearest enemy. Command. If an ally is within 3 range, no one's within 3 range of him, so that won't apply. Strategic maneuvers. Advance to the closest ally. That would be this guy here. So he's just going to advance 3 towards him, and that's the end of his turn. It is now Wynter's turn. So Wynter's going to get 3 new cards. If he just leaves and we win. Yeah. Yep, no worries. Hold on, I'll look it up right now again. You get 2 plus to your max speed and action points until the next time you end your activation. So you get 2 more action points and 2 more movement. Yep. So you have teamwork. An ally gains 2 power. And lucky strike. You may spend 1 gold to reroll any number of dice. And then hit and run. Move up to 5 fields after the attack. And I quite like Wynter. It's very versatile. The Rossworn is full health, and that's 20. And the Ambusher is also full health at 14. On his next turn. Yeah. Whatever you'd like. Do you want to get them all? I'm getting the vibe that you want to get them all. All right, let's do it. Okay. So Wynter. So swift tactics. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. And your swift tactics has 3 power on it, by the way. Okay. And so now you're using backstab. Hold on. Did you say you were using backstab? Okay, so you get +8 base damage on this attack, and you're using ambush, which is okay. So that's +10, plus flanking, which is +12 total. Um, so you're at +12, and you haven't used any action yet, right? Any action points? Okay. Um, Instead of doing demonic blade, because demonic blade will assign all damage, and none of the armor will apply for the enemy. Got it. Okay. So attacking with scimitar with +12 base damage. So you rolled 3 more, and you have your base damage of 2. So that's 5 plus 12 is 17. 17 less. This is going to be physical damage. So less 2. You've done 15 damage out of 20. But you still have your other pistol. But you, what happens when you use reflex potion? Sorry, um, reflex potion, which you could then do demonic blade and be flanking, or do pistol of the black flag and be flanking. Okay, so now you're down to 1 action point plus 2 from the potion, so now you're at 3. Correct, you can. And the attack will assign damage. Um, Teamwork and lucky strike. Okay, you want to keep hit and run? Okay. And you're using demonic blade, so you're going to have a total of 4 green dice for all of which will be assigned damage and will bypass armor. The question is, you do get flanking damage for this, right? But what about base damage? Okay, your weapon. Okay, so you're going to get +2 for flanking and the 4 green die. Okay, and that's 2 plus flanking is another 2, so that's 4, and all of it is assigned. So he will have 1 health left. Now, now you, but if you stay where you are, the eagle, who's about to have a turn, will have flanking. Vanessa will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. She only has 7 movements. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I know, but Vanessa would have to move 1 space more than she can. Oh, the ambusher. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so you want to go here. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. We'll see. All right, so Vanessa gets to go now. She does not have any cards left, so she'll draw 3. Um, in which case, she drew volley, attack 4 fields in a 2x2 square within range 3, and you get to choose the 4 fields. That we're not going to do. Survivor, you gain 3 action points. And explosive shot 2 requires ranged. Assign 4 damage to all enemies adjacent to the target. So I'm going to target Wynter, so the enemy. I'm just kidding. All right. So Vanessa. Let's see. Let's see. Well, we'll start with the eagle and see what happens there. The eagle's going to attack the raw sworn and get 1 red die and 3 green. And deals physical damage, which there is 2 defense against. And he rolled 5. So the raw sworn's dead. Because we got a skull. Look at that. All right. And we drew more gold. I don't know. But I don't think we're going to need it. But I will put 3 power on Swift Tactics. Okay, 2 there and 1 on Backstab. Um, all right. And now Vanessa. Let's see. A woman possessed is way too expensive. Basically, she has how many action points? She has 5. Gain 3 action points with Survivor. So I'm going to do that. Spend Survivor and get a total of 8 action points. And then I'm going to spend one of them on Adrenaline, which is her item, which allows her to make a second activation for free. This hero may attack a second time this activation for free. So she still has 7 action points and can make 2 attacks. And all she'll be able to attack with is Giant's Bane crossbow. So I'm going to move her 2 places to gain flanking on the ambusher. So she'll have her base damage of 3 plus 2 for flanking is 5. And then she's going to roll her 4 green die. And wow, 7 plus her 5 is 12. Minus 1 defense is 11 damage. And now she gets to do her second attack, as she still has 4 remaining action points and used Adrenaline. And we'll do the exact same thing. And more than sufficiently kill the enemy. We did it. It looked kind of stressful at the beginning when we were all sitting at like 5 health or less. Um, oh my god. And we drew. No. And we drew gold again. So that really needs a reshuffle. Um, and then basically, one thing we didn't do, we just ignored it in this encounter, which I think we would not have done if we were actually playing through the whole campaign right now, is there's urns on the table and an armor rack. And if we reach those and use an action point within, the first round or the second round, based on what round you get to them in, you get better loot. So you can draw loot from the interactable um, resources that are on the map, if you so choose. And I think in the setting of a campaign, that's probably the easiest way to draw armor, for example, and get a really good new piece of equipment. But because it's the demo, we don't really care about that. We didn't prioritize that. Um, So the Makati urns are on these 4 spaces on the map, which are denoted by U1, U2, U3, U4. So when setting up the map, U4, U3, U2, U1, that's where you put them. And in urns 1 and 2, there are consumables. So you would draw a consumable item. And in urns 3 and 4, there's some kind of loot, which could be anything. The obelisks are just the towers. The fountains were important for the scenario, being able to mitigate the arrow damage or darts. And the armor rack was at the far end of the map, where if we had have gotten there in the first round, we would have drew rare armor. And if we had have gotten there in the second or third round, it would have contained a common item. And sorry, I said that wrong for the urns. It would have been a consumable in the first and second round, or a loot, yeah, or a loot item in the third or fourth round. So, if you have somebody like Vanessa in your party who could potentially, based on her hand, move up to 9 spaces, she could swoop in, get something really sweet for the team, and then try to swoop back in that first round. Okay, so I unfortunately have not unfortunately, I have a social gathering here after this, but so I won't be able to do another scenario. But we can continue. We can continue from this in a couple weeks if you guys want. But let's say we finish that encounter. Let's just read on and see where we go. So, all enemies are slain. Turn to R9 on page 25. So let's go there. R9. So new occupancy. uh, Jaden. Is Jaden in attendance? I think he's the angel character, and he is not. So we just continue. So Kapak inspected one of the party's fallen foes, retrieving a blade from the skeleton's gnarled grasp and twisting it in the dim light. This was forged in Makata, he said, squinting in the dark, a very long time ago. I thought their garb looked familiar. Oh, no, wait, that's Adina. I thought their garb looked familiar. Said standing next to Kapak. Uh, Likely before the reign of Amoset the Wise. Kapak furrowed his brow. Could they be from when Tarpit was part of the Makati Empire? I don't see how, Adina said, turning around and raising her torch, spinning slowly to catch the flickering light on the ceiling. These catacombs aren't nearly old enough. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're good. uh, Kapuk tossed the Makati blade on the ground and then shrugged. Perhaps they were dug near a Makati tomb, and our friends here became lonely. Adina flinched at a faint echo from further inside the catacombs. Do you think there could be more? She pulled the torch to her side to see if the visibility was somehow better. Or is this enough to take to Davor? No one would build a tomb for these poor sods, but we have discovered what lurks in the catacombs, at least. Kapuk grabbed the head of one of the Makati corpses and unceremoniously ripped it off. This would be all the proof we need, if we feel we've done our part this day. So he grabs a head for evidence of the Makati undead. Makati is fun to say. Makati. uh, and so the party has earned the new occupancy title. And so, do you escape the catacombs? Question mark. End of demo. Or if you have the open catacombs title, also end of demo. Or do you venture further into the catacombs? Uh, if you have the so many levers title, end of demo. Or if you have the last guard title, turn to T4 on page 30, or else turn to. So I think just based on your earlier decisions, you may or may not have further rooms to explore here, which may or may not yield more opportunities to gain valuable resources for the team, and go from there. Um, so it looks like, in the purposes of the demo, we actually end the demo here, so there wouldn't be anywhere else to proceed. Uh, Turn to S2 on page 19. End of demo. Else, if you have the last guard title, turn to there, or S2 on page 19. Yep. So go to S2 on 19. S2, A Tale of Noise. Um, so the party reaches another fork, this one caused by a massive boulder that designers of the catacombs decided would be easier to dig around than break apart. Both paths, left and right, are just as dark and full of cobwebs and dust as the rest of the catacombs. An almost rhythmic repetition of stone banging against stone is clearly coming from further down the right path, but the source of the noise is unclear. Fork in the road, banging noise on the right, no noise on the left. Party, perception. Uh, so 21. Let's see. Who's got the best perception? Vanessa, so she needs 9 or better. There's 10. There we go. Boom. Um, and so we So do we take the right path and follow the noise, or do we take the equally enticing left path? Noise or no noise? Noise? All right, so the right path, T5 on page 26. All right, so I believe I've done this before. I don't remember if it was in the stream or not. I don't think I've ever seen anyone go to the no noise before. So busy work. It didn't take the party long to reach the source of the banging. At the end of the right tunnel was a large T-shaped room crawling with undead soldiers. One group was attempting to break into a tomb at the base of the T, using a large chunk of a broken pillar like a battering ram. The tomb was covered from floor to ceiling with runes, glyphs, and a form of mystical calligraphy that hasn't been practiced for centuries. Some of the tomb's wards had already been triggered, evidenced by the soldiers laying on the ground, dead again and smoldering. Across the room from the heroes, another group of undead were dragging corpses away toward a distant exit, a tomb where the entrance and walls had been decimated to allow easier entry. In the middle of the room, several undead soldiers were attempting to free themselves from some sort of mystical pit that appeared to be losing energy with every passing moment. There are undead everywhere, some trying to break into a magic tomb, some are trapped in a magic pit, and others carrying off corpses to some giant hole in the wall. Fun. Is is Vanessa in attendance? Yes. Go to page 26 T6. So that's right here. Vanessa peered out at the undead soldiers from behind the edge of the tunnel. Damn it. They disturbed the hero's tomb, she said. Kapak smiled briefly. I was wondering when you would speak up. Adina was confused. Why is that? She asked. Kapak gave Vanessa a sideways glance. Vanessa has been in the catacombs before. You knew the way? Adina blurted out, annoyed and perhaps too loudly as she quickly covered her mouth with her hand. I always know the way, Vanessa said flatly. She then looked back at Adina with her one good eye. But last I checked, we weren't lost. Vanessa returned her attention to the undead, who had yet to notice the party's presence. The catacombs simply aren't that big. Kapuk put his hand on Vanessa's shoulder to get her to face him and the rest of the party. Enough. Who is this hero? He asked sternly. Vanessa stood up, choosing to take off her hat and polish the buckle as she spoke. The hero of Tarpit. She was some mage who knew she would die, so she set traps all around her tomb. Vanessa returned her hat to her head and looked over her shoulder back again toward the room, even though she could see very little from where she stood. When I was young, my father told me one of the crypt keepers lost his hair putting her body inside. He was probably just pulling my leg, she said, with it a hint of sadness. Vanessa. Kapuk looked at Vanessa and began to raise his hand, but Vanessa quickly knocked it away with her own, facing him once more. Iaktala me, Vanessa said in Altecan, so only Kapuk would understand. You're supposed to hug the opposite wall to avoid the magic. Those ghouls apparently didn't get the message. This place is a death trap. There's supposed to be a way to shut it all down, but damned if anyone alive knows how. Adina stopped listening to Vanessa. Has the banging stopped? Vanessa has been to the catacombs before, and the tomb is for some mage who likes magic traps. Also, they might know you're there now. Turn to page 27. And it's another encounter. There you go. That's it. All right, so we'll stop there. But this is a particularly fun fight that will be a really, really interesting one to stream at our next session. I will say that. Yeah. Yeah, it's a really fun one. So hopefully we'll have a full party, and I can just move pieces and four other people can play, as I think that would be the most fun scenario. So we'll see what happens. But a couple mistakes this round were me just forgetting some passive stats that are on hero cards and other things like that. But I think Freck and Kyoto did a good job of picking up on all of that. So don't think there were any huge errors, but we did have one question we wanted to ask Robert or Nicola, right, from the very beginning. I can't remember what that was now. The targeting, yes, 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 yes. That was regarding the Rossworn, right? And that was command. Yeah, could he target if he was blinded? It like was does the command still take effect if he's blind? And I think our hunch was yes, because it doesn't say anything about targeting an ally. Yeah. Okay. All right. Perfect. The question, I'll ping it to Robert or Nicola and see what their answer is. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Guys, thanks for joining on for the stream, and we'll do it again soon. Sounds great. All right. Take care. Ciao. All right. Bye.